What if you found out that some of Hollywood's most talented black actors went from red carpet royalty to financial freefall almost overnight? On screen, they looked untouchable, pulling in huge paychecks, starring in blockbuster hits, and living a life most people only dream about. But behind those bright lights were money traps, bad deals, reckless spending, and snake-like managers who drained their fortunes before they even knew what hit them. Some watched their entire and the hidden stories of how fame slipped through their fingers. 14. Sinbad. When people talk about black actors who went broke instantly, Sinbad's name always comes up because his downfall happened fast and hit hard. For years, he was everywhere. His comedy shows packed theaters, his films brought laughs, and his TV roles made him a familiar face in living rooms. But behind all that success, money troubles were growing in the background. Sinbad trusted the wrong financial advice, took on debt he thought he could handle, and kept helping family in ways that slowly drained his income. As his career slowed down, the bills stayed the same, and suddenly everything flipped almost overnight. He filed for bankruptcy more than once, explaining that he owed money to the government, credit cards, and banks. Health problems later made things even more difficult, turning a bad financial situation into a frightening one. His story fits this list because it shows how even a talented, loved actor can lose everything in a moment when expenses rise and income falls. One wrong step leads to another, and before you know it, a bright career becomes a fight to stay afloat. 13. Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson may be known worldwide for boxing, but he also became a recognizable actor in films and shows, making him a surprising but very real example of a black actor who went broke instantly. At his peak, he earned amounts that most people cannot even imagine, yet the money disappeared almost as fast as it came in. His acting roles added extra income, but his lifestyle swallowed everything before it could make a difference. Lavish homes, expensive cars, non-stop parties, and keeping a huge team around him drained his fortune. Add legal problems, settlement payments, and a costly divorce, and the situation collapsed almost immediately. Even though he kept working in movies and TV cameos, the income could not match the rate at which he was spending. When he finally filed for bankruptcy, the world was shocked because nobody expected someone with such fame and earning power to lose everything so quickly. His story belongs on this list because it shows how fame cannot protect anyone from instant financial ruin when spending gets out of control and problems pile up faster than money comes in. 12. MC Hammer. MC Hammer may be remembered, first as a music icon, but he also acted in films and TV shows, making him a real part of this list of black actors who went broke instantly. His rise was fast, loud, and full of energy, but his fall was even faster. At one time, he earned amounts that most entertainers only dream of, yet almost all of it vanished in what felt like a moment. His spending became legendary. He took care of a massive entourage, bought expensive cars, lived in a huge mansion, and invested in projects that never made money. Every day brought new costs, but the income could not keep up forever. When the music slowed down and the acting roles were not enough to cover the lifestyle, everything crashed. He faced debt, lawsuits, and pressure from every direction. Despite still working in entertainment, the sudden collapse of his fortune remains one of the most shocking examples of how quickly success can turn into financial disaster, especially when fame fades and the bills keep growing at full speed. 11. Brandy Norwood. Brandy Norwood became a star at a young age, shining in music, television, and acting roles that made her one of the most familiar faces of her generation. But even with all that success, her financial world began to fall apart in a way that placed her firmly on the list of black actors who went broke instantly. Her income slowed while major expenses kept climbing, creating a dangerous gap that widened fast. A serious legal case brought enormous costs, forcing her to spend huge amounts on the settlement and related matters. At the same time, career breaks meant fewer acting checks and fewer opportunities to rebuild quickly. Other financial commitments added even more strain, turning a stable life into one filled with pressure. The shift happened quickly. One moment she seemed secure, and the next she was dealing with debts, legal fees, and financial stress that pushed her close to the edge. Her story shows how fame cannot stop money problems from exploding when unexpected events collide with a slowing income. 10. Lisa Ray McCoy. Lisa Ray. McCoy enjoyed steady success in films and television, earning recognition for her strong on-screen presence. But even with a solid acting career, she experienced a sudden financial collapse that placed her on this list of black actors who went broke instantly. Her downfall did not come from one mistake, but from a series of personal and business troubles that stacked up quickly. Her high-profile marriage ended in a painful divorce that brought heavy financial consequences. Investments she hoped would grow instead became losses, pulling money out of her pocket instead of putting anything back in. On top of that, the costs of maintaining her lifestyle stayed high while acting opportunities slowed, creating the perfect storm of financial pressure. It all added up faster than expected. Within a short period, she went from enjoying success to facing debts, dropped investments, and unexpected expenses that drained her savings. Her experience shows how even a working actor can lose stability instantly when personal life, business risks, and career changes hit at the same time. 9. Tisha Campbell. Tisha Campbell built a strong career through hit TV shows, popular films, and years of consistent acting work. But behind the scenes, her financial situation was collapsing faster than anyone imagined, making her another real name on the list of black actors who went broke instantly. Even while appearing successful, she carried debts that kept climbing until they became impossible to manage. A long, difficult marriage brought heavy financial strain, and the divorce that followed added even more pressure. Business ventures she hoped would take off instead failed, leaving her with losses she had to cover. Legal issues, medical expenses, and everyday living costs continued to build while her acting income slowed during key years. Eventually, everything hit at once, forcing her to file for bankruptcy just to stay afloat. It shocked many people because she was still well known and respected in the industry. Her situation shows how quickly financial collapse can happen when a combination of debt, slow income, and personal challenges arrives all at the same time, turning a strong career into a sudden struggle. 8. Cuba Gooding Jr. Cuba Gooding Jr. once stood at the top of Hollywood with major film roles, awards, and a reputation that promised a long, successful career. But even actors with huge talent can face sudden financial collapse, and his story fits this list of black actors who went broke instantly because the downward shift happened fast. As his career cooled after his peak years, the large paychecks slowed down while his expenses stayed high. Legal trouble made everything worse. Lawsuits, settlements, and ongoing court battles drained massive amounts of money in a short time. Every case brought more fees, more stress, and more financial pressure. At the same time, acting roles were not coming in the same steady flow as before, making it harder to rebuild. He went from being a top name in the industry to fighting to keep up with the financial storm closing in on him. His situation shows how quickly money can slip away when legal costs rise and career momentum shifts unexpectedly, turning a strong Hollywood career into a sudden financial crisis. 7. Katt Williams. Katt Williams built a name as a powerful comedian and actor. Pressures hit all at the same time. A difficult divorce brought major financial responsibilities that strained his savings. Child support, legal fees, and past debts built up faster than he could manage. At the same time, acting roles became less consistent, making it hard to keep his income steady. Efforts to restart his career took time, and the bills kept coming non-stop. Kel's financial collapse grew from a mix of personal challenges and career slowdown, turning a once bright path into a stressful fight to stay above water. His experience shows how fast financial trouble can take over when life changes suddenly, and the money coming in cannot match the money going out. 5. Faizon Love. Faizon Love earned his place in Hollywood with memorable roles in films and television, bringing humor and energy to every character he played. But even with steady work, he faced a sudden financial collapse that firmly places him on this list of black actors who went broke instantly. His downfall came from legal disputes, unpaid bills, and stalled opportunities that piled up quickly. Multiple lawsuits cost him huge amounts of money in a short period of time. Each case added attorney fees, settlements, and unexpected expenses that drained his accounts faster than he could replace them. At the same time, some of his projects did not move forward, leaving him without the steady income he once relied on. As the financial pressure grew, it became harder to bounce back. The mix of legal issues and slowing career momentum pushed him into a situation where debt grew fast and solutions were limited. His story shows how even a known actor can lose everything quickly when legal trouble and career uncertainty hit at the same time, pulling him into a financial crisis almost instantly. 4. Terrence Howard. Terrence Howard built a strong Hollywood career through powerful performances in films and television, earning respect, awards, and major roles. But even with all that success, his finances collapsed in a way that places him clearly on the list of black actors who went broke instantly. His money troubles came fast because several pressures hit at the same time, creating a financial storm he could not escape. Multiple divorces brought heavy financial obligations, including support payments, settlements, and legal fees that kept rising. At the same time, he faced tax problems that added even more debt and penalties. While he continued acting, the checks were not always enough to balance everything he owed. His lifestyle, family responsibilities, and legal issues stacked up so quickly that he found himself losing control of his finances almost overnight. Terrence's story shows how even a talented actor with a long career can fall into deep financial trouble when personal conflicts and tax problems rise faster than income, turning a successful life into a sudden struggle to stay financially stable. 3. Orlando Brown. Orlando Brown went from being a beloved childhood star to facing one of the fastest financial collapses in recent Hollywood history, which is why he belongs on this list of black actors who went broke instantly. His early career brought fame, steady work, and opportunities that seemed to guarantee a bright future. But as he grew older, legal issues, addiction struggles, and unstable behavior caused everything to fall apart very quickly. Court cases, fines, and rehab expenses drained his savings in a short amount of time. Unpredictable choices made it hard for him to keep steady work, and without consistent acting roles, his income disappeared almost completely. Attempts to restart his career were often overshadowed by public incidents, which made things even harder financially. His collapse happened rapidly because every problem brought new bills, new stress, and fewer opportunities to recover. Orlando's journey shows how fast everything can disappear when personal struggles take over and career momentum stops, leaving him fighting to rebuild both his life and his finances. 2. Gary Coleman. Gary Coleman became one of the most famous child actors of his generation, earning amounts that should have set him up for life. But instead, he became one of the clearest examples of a black actor who went broke instantly. His downfall began with mismanaged childhood earnings. The adults handling his money made poor financial decisions, leaving him with far less than he thought he had. As he grew older, medical problems added heavy expenses that he struggled to keep up with. Acting opportunities slowed, but the bills continued to rise. Lawsuits, conflicts with family, and unpaid wages from past work created even more stress. Within a short period, the combination of low income and large debts pushed him into bankruptcy. His financial collapse was shocking because he had once been one of television's biggest stars. Gary's story shows how quickly everything can fall apart when money is mishandled early in life, and adult responsibilities arrive faster than income, turning childhood fame into a sudden financial crisis. Her mind, whether people liked it or not, and that made her both respected and feared in Hollywood circles. Her long and messy feud with rapper 50 Cent became one of entertainment's most talked-about clashes. It stretched over years, full of public jabs, interviews, and social media shade that fans couldn't look away from. Producers and insiders whispered that Vivica could be difficult, someone who didn't take criticism well and refused to back down. Her sharp tongue often left lasting tension with co-stars and collaborators. But no matter how much controversy surrounded her, Vivica remained unshaken. She carried herself like a woman who knew her worth, even if it meant standing alone. In a business built on fake smiles and careful silence, Vivica's unapologetic honesty made her unforgettable. Her career proves that sometimes the same fire that fuels greatness can also burn everything in its path. 13. Katt Williams. Katt Williams could make anyone laugh, but his real-life drama often turned darker than any of his jokes. At the height of his fame, he was one of the sharpest comedians in the business, quick, clever, and fearless. Yet behind the laughter was a man spiraling out of control. His fiery temper and unpredictable behavior turned him from Hollywood's favorite comic to one of its biggest headaches. Katt's career became a long list of public meltdowns and wild headlines. He fought with fans, got into fistfights, and faced one legal issue after another. Each time, he'd bounce back on stage with the same electric energy, cracking jokes about his troubles as if chaos followed him for sport. But after a while, the act stopped being funny. Producers grew tired of his constant outbursts, and co-stars stopped picking up the phone. Even other comedians kept their distance, saying Katt was too unstable to work with. Still, no one could deny his raw talent. When he grabbed a mic, he owned the room like no one else. But offstage, that same intensity turned destructive. Katt Williams didn't just burn bridges, he set the whole town on fire, one scandal at a time. 12. Isaiah Washington. Isaiah Washington had the kind of screen presence that made people pay attention. Strong, confident, and full of charisma, he was a standout actor who seemed destined for greatness. But what started as a promising career quickly unraveled after one explosive incident that changed everything. During his time on Grey's Anatomy, Isaiah's temper became as famous as his acting. He clashed with co-stars, argued with producers, and created tension behind the scenes that became impossible to ignore. The breaking point came when he used a homophobic slur during a heated argument. The story spread fast, and suddenly, Hollywood turned its back on him. Instead of apologizing and moving forward quietly, Isaiah doubled down, giving interviews, defending himself, and making the situation even worse. That stubborn pride became his downfall. His reputation shifted overnight from respected actor to industry outcast. Once open doors slammed shut and roles disappeared. He tried to rebuild, taking smaller projects, but the stain of that moment never fully faded. Isaiah Washington's story became a warning in Hollywood about how one moment of anger can erase years of hard work. He had the talent, the drive, and the presence, but he couldn't control his own fire. 11. Tasha Smith. Tasha Smith was a powerhouse on screen, bold, emotional, and full of raw energy. But off-camera, her fierce personality often led to fireworks. Co-stars described her as intense and unpredictable, someone who could light up a set or bring it to a standstill, depending on her mood. Her passion for acting was undeniable, but that same passion sometimes crossed into confrontation. Throughout her career, stories surfaced about her strong temper and short fuse. Directors who praised her talent also mentioned her stubbornness and refusal to compromise. Tasha didn't just play strong women, she lived it, often pushing back against anyone who tried to challenge her. While that determination made her performances unforgettable, it also created tension with people who couldn't handle her energy. Her ex-husband's accusations of hostility during their divorce only added fuel to the fire, painting her as impossible to deal with. Whether those claims were true or exaggerated, they damaged her image in the public eye. Over time, Tasha's name became tied to drama just as much as it was to talent. She's proof that in Hollywood, being fiery can open doors, but it can also close them just as fast. 10. Tyrese Gibson. Tyrese Gibson went from singer to movie star, living a dream that most people only imagine. With his charm, voice, and confidence, he quickly became one of Hollywood's favorite leading men. But as the fame grew, so did his emotions, and soon, Tyrese's personal struggles began to overshadow his career. It started with his public rants on social media, where he often aired his frustrations about co-stars, producers, and personal issues. One day, he was begging his fans for understanding, and the next, he was attacking people in long emotional posts. His feud with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson over Fast and Furious delays became the talk of the internet, turning Tyrese from a fan favorite to a walking headline. Behind the scenes, insiders said his behavior made working with him unpredictable. Some days, he was humble and kind. Other days, he was moody and dramatic. His public breakdowns, like the tearful videos during his custody battle, made people question whether he was struggling or simply seeking attention. Tyrese's emotional outbursts cost him credibility, but not his passion. He remains talented, but his inability to control his feelings made him one of Hollywood's most complicated figures. 9. Chris Brown. Chris Brown started as a teenage sensation with smooth vocals, perfect dance moves, and endless charm. He had it all: the looks, the talent, and the fans. But behind that picture-perfect image was a temper that destroyed his reputation. Everything changed after the infamous assault on Rihanna, which turned him from pop prince to Hollywood villain overnight. Though he apologized publicly, his anger didn't disappear. Over the years, he found himself in multiple altercations, fights, outbursts, and legal trouble that kept his name in the headlines for all the wrong reasons. Despite this, his loyal fans continued to support him, defending him as misunderstood. But for many others, it became impossible to separate the artist from the anger. On stage, he was electric. Off stage, he was explosive. His social media rants, clashes with journalists, and unpredictable behavior showed that fame hadn't taught him humility, it had only fed his ego. Chris Brown's story is one of wasted potential. He could have been one of the greatest entertainers of his generation, but his own temper became his biggest enemy. For every hit song he released, there was another controversy waiting to knock him back down. 8. Stacey Dash. Stacey Dash was once the face of cool confidence, best known for her role in Clueless, a movie that made her a pop culture icon. She had the looks, the charm, and the chance to build a lasting Hollywood career. But somewhere along the line, that star power was drowned by a reputation for being impossible to work with. Behind the bright smile and stylish persona was a temper that made directors think twice before hiring her again. On set, Stacey reportedly clashed with co-stars and staff, demanding special treatment and refusing to compromise. Her unapologetic nature soon turned into arrogance in the eyes of those around her. The drama didn't stop there. Her controversial political statements and public feuds made her a lightning rod for backlash. Interviews turned into battlegrounds as she insulted entire communities and dismissed others in ways that left fans speechless. Producers began to see her as more trouble than talent. Instead of building on her early success, she became better known for her attitude than her acting. Every comeback attempt was overshadowed by her past remarks or new controversies. Stacey Dash went from Hollywood darling to outcast, not because of her talent, but because she couldn't stop stirring chaos. She became proof that one person's boldness can easily turn into another's nightmare when ego takes control. 7. Jussie Smollett. Jussie Smollett was on top of the world when his story took a shocking turn. As a star of Empire, he was loved by fans and praised for his performance. He had the kind of career that actors dream about: steady success, strong support, and respect in both the Black and LGBTQ+ communities. But in one unbelievable moment, All of it came crashing down. When Jussie claimed he was attacked in a hate crime, the world rallied around him. People marched, celebrities spoke out, and his name became a symbol of courage. But then came the twist. Investigators discovered that the whole thing had been staged. The sympathy turned to outrage overnight. Instead of being seen as a victim, Jussie was now viewed as a manipulator who had lied for attention. The scandal destroyed his image and ended his career almost instantly. Co-stars felt betrayed, fans felt fooled, and Hollywood wanted nothing to do with him. He denied the accusations, but the damage was already done. What had started as one of the most promising careers in black television ended in disgrace. Jussie Smollett became a cautionary tale about how one lie can undo everything an actor worked for. 6. Lawrence Fishburne. Lawrence Fishburne's talent has never been in question. He's one of the greatest actors of his generation. But behind that commanding presence and deep voice lies a reputation for being extremely intense and, at times, intimidating. On screen, he demanded excellence from himself. Off screen, he demanded it from everyone else. And if someone couldn't meet his standards, he had no problem letting them know. Directors and co-stars often described him as cold and distant, a man so focused on control that he sometimes made working with him uncomfortable. He wasn't the kind of actor who smiled through disagreements, he argued, corrected, and expected perfection in every scene. While some admired his discipline, others called it arrogance. To him, there was only one right way to do things his way. Lawrence's sharp tongue and unfiltered criticism made him both respected and feared. Few people dared to challenge him, even when his attitude crossed the line. That intensity, while part of what makes him such a powerful performer, also built a wall between him and many of his colleagues. Lawrence Fishburne became known not just for his brilliance, but for the pressure that followed him everywhere he went. A reminder that perfection often comes with a heavy price. 5. Martin Lawrence. Martin Lawrence was the face of 90 Seconds comedy, a man who could turn any moment into laughter. His hit sitcom Martin made him a superstar, and his larger-than-life personality turned him into one of Hollywood's most bankable stars. But behind all the jokes and laughter was a darker side that few people saw coming. His explosive temper and unpredictable behavior began to overshadow his brilliance, turning him from a comedy hero into one of Hollywood's biggest troublemakers. Reports from his show's set painted a picture of chaos. Martin clashed with co-stars, most famously Tisha Campbell, whose accusations of harassment brought tension to the entire production. What was once a fun, family-friendly series slowly became toxic. His outbursts weren't limited to the studio either. There were strange public incidents where he acted erratically, yelling in the streets and claiming his life was in danger. Many blamed stress, exhaustion, or even mental health struggles, but the damage was already done. His reputation for being difficult stuck with him for years, making directors hesitant to cast him. Still, even with all the controversy, Martin remained undeniably talented, a man torn between genius and chaos. He was the comedy king who had everything, yet nearly lost it all because of his own temper. 4. Cuba Gooding Jr. When Cuba Gooding Jr. shouted, "Show me the money," in Jerry Maguire, the world fell in love with his energy. He had the smile, the charisma, and the passion that made him one of Hollywood's brightest young stars. But success came fast, and so did the attitude. As his fame grew, so did his ego. The once lovable actor started showing a side that wasn't so charming. People who worked with him began to describe him as arrogant, dismissive, and impossible to please. Instead of being the team player everyone adored, he became known for mood swings and diva-like behavior. As roles dried up, he turned to partying and public antics that made headlines for all the wrong reasons. The same enthusiasm that made him magnetic on screen turned into reckless energy off it. Later came the legal troubles, accusations of misconduct that further damaged his name. The combination of arrogance and scandal turned him from Oscar winner to Hollywood outsider. What hurt most was watching a man with such undeniable talent waste it all on ego-driven decisions. Cuba Gooding Jr. had everything he needed for a long, respected career, but his own behavior wrote a very different story. 3. Mo'Nique. Mo'Nique's journey through Hollywood is one of brilliance, defiance, and drama. When she won the Oscar for Precious, she should have been unstoppable. But instead of a victory lap, she found herself surrounded by feuds, accusations, and bitter battles with some of the biggest names in the industry. Outspoken and fearless, she called out Oprah Winfrey, Tyler Perry, and Lee Daniels, accusing them of blackballing her and treating her unfairly. While some admired her courage, others saw her as a nightmare to work with. Her refusal to play by Hollywood's rules made her a target, but her fiery attitude didn't help either. She demanded respect but often delivered it with anger, making even her supporters uncomfortable. Studios began to avoid her, labeling her difficult and ungrateful. Instead of celebrating her success, she found herself fighting to prove she wasn't the problem. In interviews, Mo'Nique doubled down, saying she'd rather be honest than fake. And while her honesty earned her some applause, it also isolated her. Her story became less about her talent and more about her temperament. Mo'Nique remains one of Hollywood's most polarizing figures, a woman whose power and pride kept her strong, but also kept her alone. 2. Wesley Snipes. Wesley Snipes once ruled the action world. With his charisma, sharp moves, and effortless cool, he became a 90 seconds icon through films like New Jack City, White Men Can't Jump, and the Blade trilogy. On screen, he was unstoppable, a mix of intensity and style that made fans love him instantly. But off-screen, that same intensity took a darker turn. Wesley wasn't just confident, he was controlling, confrontational, and nearly impossible to work with. By that, everyone called him Blade on set, refusing to break character, and allegedly clashed with co-star Ryan Reynolds and director David Goyer. The once beloved action star was suddenly seen as a nightmare colleague. His troubles didn't stop there. Off-camera, his arrogance carried into real life. Tax evasion charges, public disputes, and an air of superiority made him a magnet for criticism. Wesley Snipes went from being one of Hollywood's most bankable black stars to someone directors avoided. His incredible talent never disappeared, but his ego made sure it was overshadowed. He's living proof that success can crumble fast when pride takes the driver's seat. 1. Terrence Howard. Terrence Howard's rise in Hollywood looked unstoppable. With his smooth voice and magnetic performances in films like Hustle and Flow and shows like Empire, he seemed destined for greatness. But behind his calm charm was an ego that made him one of the most difficult actors to deal with in the business. Terrence didn't just want respect, he demanded control. On set, his temper could flare without warning, and his attitude made collaboration almost impossible. Directors, co-stars, and crew members have all spoken about his mood swings and unpredictable behavior. He argued over scripts, refused to compromise, and even claimed credit for things that weren't his to take. His time on Iron Man became one of the most talked about examples. After being dropped from the sequel, Terrence accused the studio and Robert Downey Jr. of betrayal, turning a career-making role into a public feud. As his success grew, so did the stories about his arrogance and self-importance. He spoke openly about bizarre beliefs in interviews, and his words often came across as condescending. Despite undeniable talent, Terrence Howard's own personality became his biggest enemy. Instead of being remembered as one of Hollywood's finest, he's often remembered as one of its most difficult. The man who once had everything lost it, not through failure, but through pride. Fame might bring fortune and applause, but it also exposes every flaw hiding behind the curtain. These stars had it all: talent, opportunity, and influence, yet their behavior turned admiration into disgust. Some learned their lesson too late, while others still act like the rules don't apply to them. But maybe that's the price of power in Hollywood, or is it just ego gone wild? Which of these actors shocked you the most with their behavior? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more untold stories that Hollywood doesn't want you to hear. 11. Paul Winfield. Paul Winfield carved his name in Hollywood history with unforgettable roles in Sounder and A Hero Ain't Nothing But a Sandwich. He was the kind of actor who could bring raw emotion to the screen, earning respect and admiration from critics and fans alike. Yet behind this celebrated career was a personal truth he could never share publicly. Paul was gay, but he kept that part of himself carefully hidden. The times were cruel, and Hollywood was a place where being openly gay could mean career suicide, especially for a black actor who already faced barriers and fewer opportunities. Privately, Paul lived in a long-term relationship that lasted for more than 20 years, showing that he found love even while hiding it from the public. Friends and close colleagues knew his truth, but he never spoke of it in interviews, on red carpets, or public appearances. Instead, he let his work define him, while his private happiness remained locked away from the spotlight. When Paul died in 2004, the revelation of his sexuality finally became public. His story reveals both the resilience and the pain of living in silence, balancing love and undeniable talent, and the kind of screen presence that made casting directors take notice. But as bright as his future seemed, Howard lived with a secret that he could never share. He was gay, and during the 1980s and 1990s, being open about that truth would have ended his career instantly. The Hollywood system was unforgiving, and for a black actor, the risks were even greater. At the same time, Howard struggled with personal demons. He battled addiction, had legal troubles, and constantly found himself in the headlines for the wrong reasons. These issues made his silence even heavier because coming out publicly would have only added to the scrutiny. Rumors about his private life swirled, but Howard chose not to respond, focusing instead on his craft while living quietly with his truth. Sadly, his life was cut short in 1996 when he died at the age of 46. Only after his passing did stories confirm what many had quietly suspected. His hidden truth and early death left behind a story of both brilliance and heartbreak, showing how heavy the burden of secrecy could be for talented stars of his era. 9. Raymond Street Jacques. Raymond Street Jacques made history as one of the first black actors to regularly appear on primetime television, breaking barriers with roles in series like Rawhide and films such as Cotton Comes to Harlem. His sophisticated presence and commanding performances helped him stand out in an industry that offered very few opportunities to black actors. Yet even with his success, Raymond carried a truth he could never reveal publicly: he was gay. At the time, Hollywood was harsh and judgmental, forcing actors to conform to strict images that appealed to audiences. Raymond built his career with a dignified and masculine image, one that would have been threatened if his sexuality became known. While whispers about his private life circulated in certain circles, he always dismissed them by staying focused on his professional achievements. To the outside world, he appeared reserved and private, a man entirely committed to his craft. But those who knew him closely understood the personal struggle he carried in silence. When Raymond died in 1990, his sexuality was never openly acknowledged in obituaries or tributes, a reflection of how deep the silence surrounding his truth went. Today, his story is remembered as one of both progress and pain. An actor who opened doors for others on screen, but felt he could not walk through life openly as himself. His hidden truth is part of the complex history of black actors in Hollywood. 8. Luther Vandross. Luther Vandross is remembered as one of the greatest soul singers of all time, but many forget he also stepped into acting with television appearances and small roles. His voice and artistry captured millions, yet his personal life was always a mystery. Throughout his career, Luther avoided discussing relationships, and when asked about marriage or family, he would skillfully change the subject. Behind the scenes, Luther was a gay man, but he chose not to come out publicly, fearing the backlash it could bring to his career. For black male entertainers, especially in music and film, the risk of being labeled outweighed the chance to live openly. Despite never confirming his sexuality, those closest to him knew his truth. Luther was deeply private, and he worried that the public knowing would overshadow his achievements and shift the focus from his voice to his personal life. His fans adored him, but the pressure of living a double life weighed heavily on him. When Luther passed away in 2005, tributes poured in celebrating his music, but his sexuality remained the subject of speculation. Only later did more voices confirm what he had hidden for decades. His choice to keep silent was not from shame, but from the brutal reality of how unforgiving the entertainment world could be. His story reflects how even the most beloved artists sometimes carried their truth quietly until the very end. 7. Moses Gunn. Moses Gunn was a powerhouse actor, known for his commanding stage presence and memorable roles in films like Shaft and Ragtime. He built a reputation as one of the finest character actors of his generation, earning respect for his deep, authoritative voice and ability to embody complex roles. To audiences, Moses seemed like a man completely at ease in his craft, yet privately, he carried a truth that he never revealed: he was gay. During his career, Hollywood had little tolerance for openly gay men, and even less so for black actors who were already fighting for recognition. Moses chose to keep his personal life away from the spotlight, speaking rarely about relationships or family. He presented himself as private and professional, carefully separating his public persona from his real identity. Those who worked closely with him admired his discipline, but they also sensed the walls he kept around his personal world. When Moses passed away in 1993, obituaries celebrated his artistry and contributions to theater and film, but his sexuality remained unspoken. The silence surrounding his truth shows how deeply the fear of exposure shaped the lives of even the most talented actors. Moses left behind a legacy of incredible performances, but also the quiet story of a man who felt he could never live fully in the open. His journey reminds us how many stars sacrificed personal freedom for professional survival. 6. Jimmy Daniels. Jimmy Daniels was a multi-talented performer who rose to prominence during the Harlem Renaissance, blending acting, singing, and cabaret in his career. He became known for his elegance and charm on stage, attracting audiences with his smooth style and polished performances. Yet, like so many other black entertainers of his time, Jimmy lived with a hidden truth. He was gay, but in the early 20th century, being open about that reality could mean the end of any professional opportunities. Instead, Jimmy crafted an image that fit the expectations of the era, presenting himself as a suave entertainer who dazzled audiences with his performances. He built friendships with influential figures in music, theater, and literature. Yet he always kept his romantic life in the shadows. Those within artistic circles quietly knew, but the wider public never heard him speak openly about who he truly was. Jimmy's life was marked by both brilliance and silence. He carved out success in a world that rarely allowed black artists to thrive, yet he did so at the cost of hiding an essential part of himself. When he died in 1984, his sexuality was left unmentioned in mainstream accounts of his career. His story reflects the harsh reality faced by earlier generations of performers who had to choose between authenticity and survival. Jimmy Daniels remains a symbol of talent restrained by the era's unforgiving attitudes. 5. Tommy Lane. Tommy Lane became a recognizable face in blaxploitation films of the 1970s and in action classics like Live and Let Die. He had a tough, street-smart persona that made him a favorite in roles requiring edge and charisma. His screen presence was undeniable, yet away from the camera, Tommy lived with a secret that never saw the light of day during his lifetime. He was gay, but he kept that part of his identity hidden to protect his career and his image. During that era, actors were often typecast, and for a black man in Hollywood, fitting the mold of strength and masculinity was crucial. Being openly gay would have clashed with the roles that kept his career alive. Tommy chose silence, presenting himself only through his work and leaving little room for questions about his personal life. Those close to him may have known, but he never discussed it in public spaces. When he died in 2021, tributes celebrated his roles as a memorable supporting actor in both film and television. However, the truth about his sexuality remained largely unknown. Hidden behind decades of careful privacy, Tommy's story adds another layer to the long list of black actors who felt the industry left them no choice but to remain silent. His legacy lives through his performances, while his personal truth stayed behind closed doors. 4. Geoffrey Holder. Geoffrey Holder was a man of many talents, an actor, dancer, choreographer, and even a painter. With his booming voice and striking presence, he became unforgettable in roles like Baron Samedi in the James Bond film Live and Let Die, and as a theatrical figure in productions such as The Wiz. Audiences admired his flamboyant style and artistic brilliance, but Geoffrey kept his personal life carefully guarded. Though celebrated for his larger-than-life persona, he was a gay man who never openly embraced that truth in public. In an industry that was both racially and socially restrictive, Geoffrey crafted an image that focused on his artistry, leaving his private world in silence. He spoke endlessly about his work, his inspirations, and his creative passions, but when it came to relationships, he remained quiet. His sexuality was not part of the public conversation, and he made sure it stayed that way. When Geoffrey passed in 2014, tributes honored his creative genius, but few ever mentioned the truth he carried privately. His life highlights the painful divide between public success and private reality. Geoffrey gave the world art, color, and performance that pushed boundaries, yet he never had the chance to live openly as himself. His hidden truth reflects the struggles of countless black performers who were celebrated for their talent but denied the freedom of authenticity. 3. Juano Hernandez. Juano Hernandez was a pioneering Afro-Puerto Rican actor who broke barriers in Hollywood during a time when black performers were often relegated to minor or stereotypical roles. His breakthrough came in 1949 with the film Intruder in the Dust, where he delivered a commanding performance that won him critical acclaim. Throughout his career, Juano appeared in both Hollywood and international films, earning respect for his dignified portrayals and undeniable screen presence. Yet, while his professional life brought him recognition, his personal life remained deliberately hidden. Juano was a gay man, but he never publicly acknowledged his sexuality. During the mid-20th century, being openly gay was career suicide, and for a black actor already fighting racial prejudice, the risks were even greater. Juano chose silence, presenting himself as entirely focused on his craft and avoiding personal questions in interviews. His private relationships were never discussed in public, and he carefully maintained an image of privacy that protected him but also kept his true self in the shadows. When Juano died in 1970, obituaries praised his groundbreaking career but made no mention of his sexuality. His story reflects the painful reality faced by many black performers of his era who carried their truth quietly until the very end. Juano Hernandez remains a symbol of talent and perseverance, but also of the sacrifices demanded by an unforgiving industry. 2. Bayard Rustin. Bayard Rustin is remembered primarily as a civil rights leader and strategist behind the 1963 March on Washington, but he was also a performer and actor during his lifetime. His passion for theater and music gave him a presence beyond politics, yet his sexuality remained one of the most carefully hidden parts of his identity. Bayard was a gay man at a time when being both black and gay brought enormous challenges, not only in Hollywood, but in every public sphere he entered. As he pursued both activism and performance, Bayard understood the stakes of openness. Admitting the truth would not only harm his career but also weaken the causes he supported, as opponents often attacked his personal life to discredit his work. To protect himself and the movements he served, he kept his sexuality private, never addressing it publicly. Even though friends and allies were aware, Bayard never made it a matter for public conversation. His artistry and activism defined how he was seen, while his personal reality remained in silence. When he died in 1987, the world celebrated his contributions, but left untouched the truth he carried privately. His story shows how many black performers and public figures were forced to choose between their truth and survival. Bayard Rustin left an extraordinary impact, but he also lived a life where authenticity had to be hidden until after death. 1. Alvin Ailey. Alvin Ailey is celebrated around the world as the legendary choreographer and founder of the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. But what many forget is that he also worked as an actor early in his career. His performances, both on stage and in film, reflected a deep emotional power that came from his lived experiences. Yet, despite his brilliance, Alvin lived with a truth that he never openly shared: he was a gay man. In mid-20th century America, being openly gay could bring devastating consequences, especially for a black artist already facing barriers of racism and limited opportunity. Throughout his career, Alvin avoided speaking about his relationships, instead focusing entirely on his art. He poured his emotions into dance and performance, creating works that captured themes of identity, struggle, and resilience. Many believe his hidden personal life fueled the intensity of his creativity, but it also brought him immense loneliness. He carried the weight of secrecy while giving the world unforgettable beauty through movement. When Alvin died in 1989, his sexuality was not widely discussed, and obituaries focused only on his artistic achievements. Only later did accounts reveal the truth he kept hidden. His story is one of brilliance shadowed by silence, a reminder of how even icons who changed culture could not escape the pressures of hiding who they truly were. Alvin Ailey's legacy lives on through his art, though his authentic self remained concealed until after his passing. These stories remind us that Hollywood's bright lights often cast long shadows. 11 incredible black actors gave the world unforgettable performances, yet each carried the heavy burden of silence about who they truly were. The question now is, how many more untold stories are still out there, waiting to be uncovered? If you found these hidden truths eye-opening, don't let the conversation end here. Hit that subscribe button, share this video, and join us as we reveal more untold Hollywood stories that the world tried to keep in the dark.
Fox's What If I Told You that one of the funniest sitcoms of the 1970 seconds carried more drama off-screen than it ever showed on television. Sanford and Son wasn't just about a father and son running a junkyard. It was a groundbreaking series that shaped comedy and opened doors for black entertainers in Hollywood. But behind those laughs were untold struggles, shocking secrets, and cast revelations that fans never got to see. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the hidden truth behind Sanford and Son and its unforgettable cast. Redd Foxx almost didn't get the role. When people think about Sanford and Son, the very first image that comes to mind is Redd Foxx holding his chest and hollering about the big one. But what most fans never discovered is that Foxx was almost never given the role of Fred Sanford at all. In the early 70s, NBC executives were nervous about putting him on primetime television. Foxx had built his reputation in smoky nightclubs with comedy albums that were raw, raunchy, and often considered too vulgar for mainstream audiences. He was already a legend in underground comedy, but executives thought his style was dangerous. They feared middle America wouldn't accept a comedian known for adult humor leading a family sitcom. The only reason Foxx got the role was because Norman Lear believed in him. Lear had already changed television with All in the Family and felt Foxx's natural wit, sharp tongue, and street-smart delivery were exactly what the show needed. He insisted that Foxx was the only actor who could bring Fred Sanford to life in a way that felt authentic, funny, and relatable. Against heavy resistance, NBC agreed, though reluctant. The gamble paid off in ways no one expected. Foxx became a household name, and the show quickly climbed to the top of the list. What fans never realized was just how close the world came to missing out on Fred Sanford altogether. Without Foxx, Sanford and Son would never have had the spark, the bite, or the unforgettable charm that made it a television classic. Demond Wilson wanted to quit early. Demond Wilson's role as Lamont Sanford was just as crucial to the show as Fred's fiery insults. Lamont was the anchor, the patient and hardworking son who balanced out his father's wild energy. Yet behind the scenes, Wilson was often frustrated and even considered leaving the show early. Most fans never discovered that Wilson felt trapped in the role of straight. While Redd Foxx got the flashiest, Wilson was stuck reacting, playing the voice of. He believed this made him look dull compared to Foxx, even though his steady presence was what allowed the comedy to shine. Wilson's frustration grew so much that he threatened to walk away from the series. NBC executives and the show's producers scrambled to keep him because they knew Sanford and Son could not survive without the father-son chemistry at its core. Adjustments were made to ensure Wilson felt more respected as a performer. Still, the experience left him with a complicated view of Hollywood. Off-screen, Wilson also battled addiction and the darker side of sudden. Fans, laughing at Lamont's patience and determination, had no idea the actor behind the role was quietly struggling and almost ready to quit. His decision to stay ultimately cemented the show's success. Lamont's role might not have been the flashiest, but without him, Fred Sanford's jokes would have fallen flat. The hidden truth is that the survival of Sanford and Son rested heavily on Wilson, even though most people never realized it. Redd Foxx's money troubles were real. On screen, Fred Sanford was always scheming to make a quick buck, and audiences laughed at his get-rich-quick dreams. What most fans never discovered is that Redd Foxx's real life mirrored his character in shocking ways. Despite becoming one of the highest-paid comedians of the 1970 seconds, Foxx lived extravagantly and often spent far more than he earned. He surrounded himself with flashy cars, expensive jewelry, and lavish homes. But behind that, he was drowning in financial problems. Multiple divorces took a heavy toll, and his battles with the IRS became legendary. At one point, federal agents raided his Las Vegas home, seizing furniture, clothing, and even personal photographs. Foxx's money troubles followed him throughout his career, overshadowing his talent and success. Even after Sanford and Son made him a household name, he was often broke, relying on new projects just to stay afloat. Fans who tuned in each week saw a funny, confident junk dealer, but the man behind the role was living paycheck to paycheck. It was a painful reality for someone who broke barriers and paved the way for countless comedians. His financial downfall became a cautionary tale in Hollywood, proof that fame and money mean nothing without stability and careful planning. What fans never realized was how much Redd Foxx's struggles off-screen mirrored the very character that made him famous. Fred Sanford's fictional money woes turned out to be a heartbreaking reflection of the real man who brought him to. LaWanda Page almost got fired before she said. LaWanda Page gave television one of its most iconic characters, Aunt, the Bible-toting, sharp-tongued nemesis of Fred's. Every time she appeared on screen, sparks flew and audiences roared with laughter. But what most fans never discovered is that Paige nearly lost the role before filming even began. Producers doubted her ability to transition from stand-up comedy to television acting. They felt she didn't have the right timing for a sitcom and were ready to fire her. The only reason she stayed was because Redd Foxx, her longtime friend, stepped in. He knew her talent firsthand. They had grown up together in St. Louis and shared years in the comedy circuit. Fox told producers that if Paige was let go, he would quit the show. That bold stand saved her career and gave the world Aunt Esther. Once the cameras rolled, Paige proved everyone wrong. Her fiery comebacks and constant clashes with Fred Sanford became some of the show's funniest and most memorable moments. What fans didn't realize was that the chemistry they loved came from a real friendship built over decades. Paige was fearless on stage long before television, delivering raw comedy routines that shocked audiences. That same boldness carried into her role, creating a character no one could forget. Without Redd Foxx's loyalty and support, Aunt Esther might never have existed. The secret truth is that the heart of Sanford & Son wasn't just in the junkyard, it was in the unshakable bond between two old friends who refused to let Hollywood break them apart. Whitman Mayo became an unexpected star. When Redd Foxx left Sanford & Son during a contract dispute in the mid-1970 seconds, producers faced a nightmare. The show's biggest star had walked away, and NBC needed someone to step in and keep the audience entertained. That's when Whitman Mayo, who played Fred Sanford's friend Grady, was pushed into the spotlight. What most fans never discovered is that Mayo was never meant to be more than a side character, yet his goofy charm, slow delivery, and hilarious catchphrase instantly connected with viewers. Fans loved Grady so much that he ended up carrying episodes in Fred's absence, keeping the show alive when it easily could have collapsed. NBC even tried to give Mayo his own spin-off series, Grady, though it only lasted one season. Still, it showed just how much impact he made in such a short time. Behind the scenes, Mayo was a thoughtful man who appreciated every opportunity. After the sitcom years, he didn't chase fame but instead worked steadily in television and even became a drama professor, mentoring young actors. Audiences only saw the funny sidekick, but his real story revealed a man who turned an unexpected break into a lifelong career. Grady may have started as a backup plan, but he became one of the most beloved characters in Sanford & Son. The hidden truth is that when the show faced disaster, Whitman Mayo was the one who kept the laughter alive. The show was based on a British sitcom. While Sanford & Son feels uniquely American, especially with its junkyard setting and sharp-witted black cast, what most fans never discovered is that the show wasn't created in the United States at all. It was adapted from a British sitcom called Steptoe & Son, which aired in the 1960 seconds. The British version told the story of a father and son who ran a rag and bone business, essentially a junkyard, and constantly clashed over lifestyle differences. Norman Lear, who was already revolutionizing American television with All in the Family, saw potential in remaking the show for American audiences. Instead of simply copying the original, Lear infused Sanford & Son with Redd Foxx's comedic style, African-American culture, and Los Angeles flavor. That combination turned a quirky British comedy into a groundbreaking American sitcom. Most fans watching in the 1970 seconds had no idea that the junkyard humor they loved was born overseas. Yet what made the U.S. version stand out was its unapologetic look at race, class, and family, all filtered through sharp comedy. The adaptation not only worked, it became one of NBC's biggest hits and an important cultural milestone. The British version is still respected, but it never reached the iconic status of its American cousin. The untold truth is that without Steptoe & Son, there would be no Sanford & Son, but it was Redd Foxx, Demond Wilson, and the unforgettable cast that transformed the idea into something uniquely powerful, shaping television history forever. Demond Wilson's life transformation. Demond Wilson, who played Lamont Sanford, became a familiar face in American households through his role as the frustrated yet loyal son. But what most fans never discovered is that Wilson's life took a dramatic turn once the cameras stopped rolling. During the height of the show's popularity, Wilson struggled behind the scenes with drug addiction and the pressure that came with sudden fame. He admitted years later that he was spending thousands of dollars a week on cocaine, numbing himself from the stresses of Hollywood life. While audiences saw him as the reliable Lamont, the man behind the character was spiraling into chaos. After Sanford & Son ended, Wilson shocked everyone by walking away from the entertainment industry altogether. Instead of pursuing more roles, he chose a completely different path. He became a born-again Christian and devoted himself to ministry work. He founded churches, wrote faith-based books, and began preaching about redemption and second chances. Fans who expected him to stay in the spotlight never realized that his faith had become more important than fame. This transformation made Wilson's story one of the most surprising in television history. He went from sitcom stardom to spiritual leadership, leaving behind the Hollywood life that once consumed him. The untold truth is that Wilson's greatest role wasn't Lamont Sanford, it was the man he became after the show. A figure who used his struggles to help others find their way. Redd Foxx walked out over pay. By the mid-1970s, Sanford & Son was one of the most successful sitcoms on television. Redd Foxx had become a household name, adored by audiences across the country. But what most fans never discovered is that Foxx wasn't happy with his paycheck. Despite the show's massive ratings and cultural impact, Foxx felt he was being underpaid compared to white actors on other top sitcoms of the era. He believed his groundbreaking role deserved more recognition and more money. Tensions finally boiled over in 1974 when Foxx abruptly walked off the set during the middle of the season. The absence left producers scrambling, and Whitman Mayo's character, Grady, was pushed into the spotlight to fill the void. Audiences were shocked when episodes aired without Fred Sanford, not knowing the real reason behind the sudden change. Behind the scenes, NBC executives eventually gave in to Foxx's demands, increasing his salary and ensuring his return. His bold move highlighted the double standards in Hollywood and the struggles black actors face even at the height of success. What fans never knew was just how close the show came to collapsing in its prime. Without Foxx, the series would have lost its spark, but his walkout also proved his power. He wasn't just a comedian, he was a trailblazer who fought for his worth in an industry that often undervalued black talent. The hidden story behind his departure shows that laughter on screen sometimes came at a heavy cost behind the scenes. Redd Foxx and LaWanda Page were childhood friends. The fiery clashes between Fred Sanford and Aunt Esther remain some of the funniest scenes in sitcom history. Every insult, every comeback, every Bible-waving threat from Esther felt electric. What most fans never discovered is that the chemistry wasn't just acting, it came from a bond that stretched back to childhood. Redd Foxx and LaWanda Page grew up together in St. Louis, long before either dreamed of becoming television stars. They both honed their comedic skills on the stand-up circuit, building reputations as fearless performers. When producers doubted Page's ability to handle the role of Aunt Esther, Foxx stood firmly by her side. He told them that if they didn't cast her, he would walk away from the show. That loyalty came from decades of friendship and trust. Once the cameras rolled, the pair transformed their shared history into pure comedy gold. Their playful feuds on screen often had roots in the way they teased each other in real life. Page's boldness matched Foxx's wit, creating television magic that audiences adored. What fans never realized was that those legendary battles weren't born from Hollywood scripts alone. They were fueled by genuine affection and mutual respect. The hidden truth is that Aunt Esther's presence wasn't just a casting decision. It was the result of a lifelong friendship. Without Page and Foxx's history, Sanford & Son would have lost one of its greatest comedic duels, and television would have missed one of the most iconic rivalries ever filmed. Redd Foxx's tragic end shocked fans. For nearly a decade, Redd Foxx ruled television as Fred Sanford, making millions laugh with his exaggerated heart attack routine. But what most fans never discovered is that his real-life ending was far more tragic than anything written into the show. By the early 1990s, Foxx was preparing for a comeback with a new sitcom called The Royal Family. During rehearsals in 1991, he suddenly collapsed on set. Crew members initially thought he was joking, imitating the same heart-clutching bit he had performed countless times on Sanford & Son. But this time, it wasn't comedy. Foxx had suffered a massive heart attack and passed away at the age of 68. The irony was heartbreaking. The very gag that had made him famous mirrored his real death. For fans who had grown up watching him joke about the big one, the news was shocking and surreal. Behind the laughter, Foxx's life had been filled with ups and downs, financial troubles, broken marriages, IRS battles, and personal struggles. Yet, despite everything, his talent left an unshakable mark on comedy and television history. He was more than Fred Sanford, he was a trailblazer who changed the way America laughed. What fans never realized until his final moments was just how deeply his fictional act and real life had intertwined. The hidden truth is that Redd Foxx's passing was not just the end of a comedian's life, but the closing chapter of a man who gave everything he had to make the world laugh. They made you laugh, they made you think, and they gave television a kind of magic that still lives on today. But behind the witty one-liners and hilarious moments, the cast of Sanford and Son carried stories, struggles, and triumphs that most fans never truly knew about. The real question is, how much more has Hollywood kept tucked away, waiting to be uncovered? If you want to keep discovering the untold truths, hidden stories, and shocking revelations behind your favorite stars, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications, and join us on this journey through the secrets of entertainment.